Story 1. What do y'all think? My wife and I have been married for 10 years. We enjoy going to concerts a lot. We are Hispanic and enjoy live music in smaller venues. Last November we went to see a band group that was very popular a couple years ago and got a lot of radio play. Now they mainly play in nightclubs. Anyway, we went with another couple. My wife likes to dress very sexy when we go to events like this. She is very good looking and usually gets a lot of looks. I don't mind since she's always been all about me. We have a good time. The main band like usual only plays 1 hour from 11 to 12. My wife likes to post to Snapchat a lot, so she posts a lot of the show. Since we know the venue owner, sponsor, we sometimes get to see the band after and take pics and hang out a bit. This time we got to go to the back as well. I got distracted getting drinks and my wife and the other couple went without me. By the time I made it to the back of the stage, they pretty much were leaving. My wife and other couple were super excited as they were invited to an after party in the city with them. This is rare, but it has happened before, but this was definitely unexpected. We drove to the location. I was a bit apprehensive since the kind of crowd to like this music and drop 15K for 1 hour of music is sometimes sketchy. We get there and they are already playing. They play for 1 more hour, then another band takes over. The main singer of the band approached us and we talked for a bit. My wife was elated as she has been a big fan. She takes lots of pics. At some point I go to the restroom. The drinks are hitting me. I come back to the sitting area and my wife is not there. I assumed she went to the restroom. 20 minutes pass and I text her. No response. I find the other couple and they said they haven't seen her. I call her, no response. I finally find her coming down the stairs from the 2nd floor. She's with the singer and another girl. She tells me that he showed her where the restroom was and that she was talking about this girl that she just met. This sets off alerts in my head. We immediately leave. We get home and she takes a long shower. We finally go to sleep around 4 a.m. I try to not be paranoid, but I have a bad feeling about the whole thing. Days pass and she refused sex as she says she's tired. I decided to check her phone. I find that she DM'd the guy to his public Insta. I had a great night. The guy left her on scene. I see that the very next day she texted her friend, we need to talk, I got gossip. She also befriended the girl she was with on Insta. The following weekend we are grilling and drinking at my house. A song by this group comes on and the friend she messaged immediately looks at my wife and toasts her glass to her and says, "For the memories." This group is playing in city 2 hours away and my wife magically got tickets for her and her friend. It's a Friday night so I can't go due to work. I've checked her phone again and the message to the dude has been deleted. Am I crazy to think something is going on? Reader comment. Opus, you know exactly what went on upstairs. The singer took your wife and the other woman upstairs to either have sex or get a BJ. The long shower makes me believe she has sex. She idolized this singer and jumped at the opportunity to ditch you and do anything he wanted. As for the upcoming show that is 2 hours away, no, put your foot down, Opus. If she goes, she won't have any fears of you catching her. She will get passed around by the whole band and be happy about it. She is a groupie. Sit her down and tell her you no longer trust her to go alone. Her behavior shows that she has no inhibitions around musicians. What's more important to her, watching a band she has seen numerous times, or keeping her marriage intact? Don't let on that you know anything. If she chooses to go, let her know it's over. Never compete with another man for your wife's love and affection. If she goes, she will be for the streets. Reader comment. This alone isn't exactly a real proof for infidelity. She will just deny it even if you ask her directly about the cheating. Ask her indirectly of what she did for 20+ minutes upstairs with the singer. Then just joke about going with her to the concert and see her reaction. See if she messages something suspicious to anyone after this, etc. Story 2. Wife in a 12-year relationship spent full day with yoga instructor and I saw them hugging and he kissed her. Apologies, this will be a lot to unpack. Been in a relationship for 12 years, married for 1.5 now. We are currently in marriage counseling for about a month, stemming from a drunk night where she texted her yoga teacher asking if he missed her in class. I know there have been very few texts of any real seriousness between them that isn't about working at the yoga studio or class schedule. She has shown me. For context, my wife began going to this yoga studio last year to help with depression. She mostly only goes to this instructor's class because he is a good teacher, and the same group of people go every week. She now volunteers there 1 day a week that he is not there but goes to his class multiple times a week. I've expressed jealousy over it before. This weekend she went on a yoga retreat where a group of people spend all day meditating and practicing. She also did this a little while ago and carpooled with a group including this guy instructor. This time around, she said they were going to carpool again as a group, but apparently no one else ended up going, so she and this instructor met and drove together. I didn't know this, but I was expecting it might be the case. Eventually I felt suspicious and drove by the studio at the end of the day when they were returning home. I saw them sitting in the car for about 15 minutes. Then I saw them get out and stand outside the cars for about 20 minutes standing very close. It looked like they were touching and hugging. I thought I saw them kiss. Painfully, I brought this all up at home. I asked if they went alone and she admitted yes, and she didn't tell me because she was afraid of how I would react because of my previous jealousy. She finally admitted they hugged goodbye and the hug lasted longer than she thought it would and she enjoyed the feeling. She also admitted that he kissed her, but only a peck on the lips. Needless to say, the pain is unbearable right now. She constantly says she loves me, but she admitted to feeling a strong emotional and spiritual connection plus physical attraction to this guy that I do not provide and haven't for a long time. I've tried really hard to work on my jealousy and lack of emotional intimacy over the last few months when my wife expressed she has not been attracted to me for a long time. We have not had any sex in months, and before that it would be lucky if once a month. To make it worse, I've recently allowed my wife to quit her job that deepens her depression. Before this happened, the yoga studio began offering teacher courses which she will begin in a couple months. I offered to pay for this for her to help transition out of the horrible job and focus on her mental health. Now she will be taking part of the teacher training with this instructor. I'm just at a severe loss of direction. She clearly loves me and says our relationship is built around a strong friendship. We still interact very friendly, loving and helpful between all the therapy and issues, but now trust is a bit broken, and she did not initiate the kiss, but the admittance of enjoying the physical interaction is heartbreaking. Do I make an ultimatum and tell her to confront him and say it was a mistake and she can't see him? That will probably harm her depression, or ask if she wants to end our relationship for him. She claims she doesn't, but that she may end up feeling similarly in the future. TLDR, wife spent a day driving alone to a yoga retreat with an instructor she is attracted to. Afterwards, I saw them talking very closely and touching for a long time. She admits he kissed her. She is very torn up about hurting me and confusion over feelings. Trust is broken and I'm afraid our marriage counseling is failing. I don't want to end a decade of history over a kiss. Reader comment, I'm sorry, this is so gross. I hear these stories about dudes like this yoga instructor and the wives that cheat with them. I know your wife has her own autonomy, but you have to wonder if this guy is some sort of predator and does this to many of the women in his class. She probably thinks she's the only one he's ever done this with. Maybe trying to open her eyes and help her look at the situation critically will help. Or maybe she's too far gone. I have no idea. I know that's a lot of assumptions, but it's cliche, isn't it? If she keeps hanging out with him this way though, you guys cannot repair your relationship. And if she's not willing to drop him, then ultimately that might spell the end. You should be her priority, and if not, that speaks volumes as to where her head is at. Story 3. Needing some input. Wife cheated. Reddit is the last place I want input from, but scrolling through recent posts, I figured I'd give it a shot. TLDR, my wife kissed another man whom they had been talking for 6 months and worked together and said that was the extent of the physical part. Emotional aside, is it possible my wife kissed him and nothing more? Edit. I asked her if she would take a polygraph test and she was hesitant and trying every reason not to take one. I asked why and she said, because I did. She said she gave this guy a HJ. I say okay, but we'll still take the polygraph test. And she seemed more willing but not 100%. She said that's all and didn't tell me to protect me. Do I trust that's all? I mean, why keep lying at that point? In the meantime, I'm throwing up and cruising around. Another sleepless night. My wife and I have been married for almost 7 years. January 31st will mark 7. However, on December 10th, I discovered she cheated on me. Some backstory. My wife and I worked at the same job for a couple of years and my boss hired his troubled nephew to work out in the shop. I didn't like the guy as soon as my wife said, we have a brother and sister relationship. I didn't see how that was possible unless they were spending more time together than I thought or knew about. I end up quitting and go do my own thing, but my wife continues working there. Fast forward a few months, my wife is getting home later, acting differently, showered immediately when she got home, etc. I knew something was up and I kept telling her I didn't like what she was up to, leaving me and my 5-year-old son at home was getting frustrating. One day she says she's going out and I told her I didn't like that. And she said I am going out anyways and I am going to enjoy my night. 1:30 a.m. rolls around and she is still not home. This is the latest she had stayed out. Tired and angry, I texted her saying I want a divorce. Instead of calling, she texts back and says why, because I went out with friends. After a few back and forth, she comes home and is completely wasted. I ask her where she was and why she wasn't planning on coming home. She said she was going to stay at a friend's house. We argue and she goes to bed, and I lay on the couch. Couldn't sleep and wanted to go talk to her, but she was out. I saw her phone, so I decided to look through it. Note, that was the first time in our marriage I ever looked through her phone. I look at her call log and I see this coworker's name on there. 2 calls were made to him around 130 the time I texted. I wake her up and ask her why she was talking with him, and she denied it, which is mind-blowing because I literally showed her call log. 6-minute conversations each. I also noticed her Snapchat was deleted, so I asked why it was gone, and she said she didn't know. But I called the guy and said, "Why are you talking with my wife at 1:30 a.m.?" and he said it was her friend that called him. I didn't buy any of it and hung up. She continues to deny, and I get frustrated and leave the house with her phone. I re-download Snapchat and it automatically logs her in. I see she was in a group with co-workers including this guy, and he was also tagged as a favorite. I see she had 2 videos of him at work that she recorded. I also found out that she was the one that planned that night days in advance and even picked this guy up to go to the bar. I look at her search history and see that while she was out of town during a trade show, she had Googled bars to go to. At this point I had enough, so I went home to get some answers. Again, I wake her up and ask her, "Did you cheat on me?" She says yes, and I ask with who, and she says with this coworker. I can't believe I had the strength to say this at the time because I pulled an all-nighter, but I said I was willing to work things out if she quit her job and had no contact with her coworkers, who I later find out they were encouraging her to divorce me for months. She couldn't make a decision, and so I asked her, are they worth throwing our marriage out the window and having our son go through this? She still couldn't give me an answer, but at some point, I angered her, and she yells in my face that this guy is her best friend, while in our entire marriage she never once called me that. Now I don't remember the time the next conversation took place because I didn't sleep for 4 days, but she said that she had been talking with him since July. It was her idea to hide the conversation via Snapchat, and she even told the guy, "My husband doesn't want me talking to you, so let's use Snapchat." She would delete the app before coming home and re-download it when she got to work. She would send selfies to him and have personal conversations non-work related. She goes on to tell me that she had feelings for him and pictured herself in a relationship with him, and one day she goes out to the shop, and he says he has feelings for her, and she said the same, and they kissed. She claims she pushed him away and said that was wrong. She continues to say that she had no contact with him for 2 weeks, at which point they agreed to be just friends. So, the kiss happened sometime in Sep or Oct. She claims she doesn't remember when, and they continue in their friendship until I find all this out on December 10th. Now here are some details pre and post kiss. Pre-kiss, she starts hiding this conversation via Snapchat in July. On my birthday, my wife takes me to a bar and this coworker comes along. Here I am having no clue this two are secretly chatting every day at work. Also takes me golfing with him. She says she sent selfies to him via Snapchat. Goes out to bars with this coworker, but claims other coworkers were there and that it was never just the 2 of them. She develops feelings for him, so on and so forth. Post-kiss, she said she hated herself for doing what she did but continued their friendship because she said she enjoyed their friendship and didn't want to make work awkward. She goes on 2 trade shows out of town, and I later discover this coworker also went with her. She said it was all professional, but when I asked her in the first place did he go too, she said yes, and I asked, what hotel did he stay at? And she said, a hotel, and I asked, which hotel, and she said the same hotel. Why say a hotel and not just the same one to begin with? Anyways, they also flew out to to pick up vehicles for work. Single day trip, but gets home later than it should have taken. Goes bowling with this guy and another friend. Continues going to bars with him there. And she said they had multiple conversations about how they cannot let something like they did happen again. Oh, and she said she most likely would never have told me this happened had I not found it out. So here is my question. Is it possible that she did what she did? Hid this relationship for months, had feelings for him, kissed him, and not have slept with him? I can forgive a kiss because throwing out 7 years and going through a divorce with my 5-year-old son would not be worth it. The emotional affair affects me too, but I can work past that. But if she slept with him, I cannot move past that. Is she telling the truth when she says she didn't sleep with him? Note, she has answered all of my questions, although her stories are different in some cases because I ask similar questions. But nonetheless she answers them. She cries when I explain what she did to me. Seems like she is sorry even though she hasn't said it enough times in my opinion. I have entertained the thought of divorcing with her, and she begs me not to. Oh, and she did quit her job the next day and got a new number and hasn't had contact with her old co-workers. She says she entertained this relationship because she said this guy noticed her, gave her compliments, liked her work ideas, held the door open. She said he did everything that I lacked. I can agree to an extent that I didn't give her all my time and attention, but that is not reason to do what she did. And to make matters even more complicated, she is pregnant. 5 years of trying to get pregnant, and she gets pregnant days after I find out she cheated on me. Now to be fair, we did have makeup sex. Many will tell me to get STD tested and do blood tests to see if the baby is mine, and I will. But again, she says they didn't sleep together. Can I believe that? Reader comment. Don't assume anything she's telling you was accurate, not what she did, where she did it, or the timing. Some of the pieces might be true, but she can be rearranging things, leaving things out, and making things up to make you believe she's innocent. You've already caught her lying when asking about the polygraph test. Unless you have confirmation of details from another source, don't assume any of it is accurate. She told you she cut off contact and didn't, right? Original poster. She said she never spoke with him after the day I initially found out she cheated on me. She said to him, you never speak with her again. Also, turns out he moved to another state. So, he used my wife, destroyed our family, marriage, and runs off like a coward. Reader comment. There's no way with the hotel rooms, etc. that all they did was kiss. That's just too stupid to be stupid. So, she's going to risk sneaking around with this dude, deleting Snapchat, partying behind your back, just to have kissed this guy once. You know better, bro. Original poster. The hotel was after the kiss, after she said they distanced themselves. But no, I agree.